a couple people watching over there on YouTube already. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button. I shouldn't have to tell you that. The dash may just flicker open. There it is. Um, so let me see if I can get the right view on here to see the rest of the virtual Pipe Club people here. Um, well, I'm gonna have to mess around with the buttons there. But meanwhile, here's what we were talking about. Last night I got an invitation to be on the King Cat Piper, Mike's YouTube channel, and we got to talking about some different things. He asked me the question about what it is that I like about, the virtual pipe club and everything. And I said, number one, it's the people. It is the people, the people, the people. That's number one, two, and three. And one of the things that we were talking about, and Mike brought it up, and Brent just referring to it, I said, you know, we could all be in the same room, like all of us here wandered into the same restaurant or something like that, and maybe not really approached one another and began a conversation or something. We look different. We maybe have different cultures and philosophies and whatnot. But put us in the same room and crack open a tin of tobacco, and suddenly we have friends from 91 different countries, and that's amazing. That's really amazing. I love that about you guys, and this is something that I really treasure every week. So that's the start of the conversation. Maybe you guys can chatter about that while I try to fix the video, because I don't want this whole thing to just be my mug all day long. So give me a second to figure it out here. Oliver, you have to carry the ball, brother.
Oh, okay. So I have a question for the guy from Chicago. So where are you in Chicago? In downtown or in the suburbs? Tim? What is your name? Yeah, Tim. You are on mute, I guess. Here we go.
Sorry about that. I just gave you guys the secrets of the universe, but I was on mute, so you missed it.
Okay.
Yeah. I am in the far western burbs. So if you've ever been to the Chicago Pipe Show, I am one town away from where we used to hold the show.
I'm pretty much 2 towns away, I would say. So I'm from the Aurora, Naperville area.
I am from the land of sunshine and rainbows known as Bartlett, Illinois. So,
okay, got it.
Yes.
So we are pretty much neighbors. So
yes. So yeah, I work in Des Plaines, so I get to go. I can see the downtown, and knowing a lot of the different pipe shops in the area, I get to visit them on occasion. So I know the state fairly well. And here's a news flash. A lot of our pipe enthusiasts remember the Tinderbox, right? The old Escorty pipe place. Anyway, I found out that there's actually still a Tinderbox in Rockford, Illinois.
Really?
Really. So I'm gonna have to go check them out for the club. One of the things that the club does is I visit different shops to kind of give them a rating on what they have for pipes and tobacco. So.
Tim, I don't know if you heard about this. So one of the things that we're trying to do this year, 2021, for the virtual Pipe Club event is visit some of the famous and favorite brick and mortar pipe stores that are still out there. And I was going to see if we could get into the Tinderbox that's here in LA or Santa Monica. But if go down there and they are still open and look good and aren't just full of cigars tops to bottom, that might be a really good one to bring on the show.
Oh yeah, I mean Tinderbox was once like a premier chain. They were everywhere. Um, Now, I spent a few years living in Redondo, Hermosa. So out there in LA area. It's funny, there was a place called the Tinderbox, but folks, it wasn't a pipe shop.
Well, we won't delve into too much about what kind of a shop it was and how you know about it.
I lived behind it. That's how I know. I thought it was a pipe shop. Wrong. Oh, wrong.
You can smell the tobacco.
Hey, as I tell my students all the time, kids, there are some things you can't unsee.
David Dorian, the Tinderbox you're talking about in Santa Monica, is that the one at the end of the 3rd Street Promenade?
I have not actually been there myself.
Oh, okay.
I was
Things horrible, like Joseph Wood in Arizona.
The listing for on the Tinderbox international website lists the Santa Monica one as the original Tinderbox and the one that's still in operation, so to speak. And so I'm assuming that that is a real Tinderbox, but I don't know. I haven't been there.
Yeah, but I lived in Venice Beach for years and years, in Redondo Beach, and that's where I bought my first pipe back in, I think, 1995 or 94, 95 was at that Tinderbox there. So.
We were kicking around the same ground.
Yeah. You lived in like a Redondo area?
I lived on the Strand, right at the very end of the Strand in Redondo, Hermosa, right at the boundary there.
Yeah, I lived right by Riviera Village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still go out to California, well, when there's not a plague.
Yeah.
I still go out there a couple times a year. Yeah, nothing like smoking. You know, one of the things that I've always noticed a pipe goes well with is nature.
Oh, yeah.
And being out in the high desert of California where it's utterly silent, a pipe just, it's the natural, accessory.
Yeah, that's where right now I'm living in the Central Sierras, right outside of Yosemite. I figured, where I lived in Palos Verdes in that area, fixer upper was a couple million. So I decided I either want to live by the ocean or the mountains, and the mountains won. So.
Wow, just a couple million. That's a steal.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who didn't see the announcements, and I usually make this a little bit more mysterious, but well, here we are. Our guest speaker today is Craig Cedarquist, and apologize for that, Craig.
Hey, no problem.
Craig is a web designer by day, and a crime fighter by night. No, that's not true. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. But he's a web designer by day, and he is a pipe carver and leather worker, and just all around handy dude when he's not making websites. He is the winner of this year's Best of category, Best of Pipe Accessories, with something called the Pipe Valet. And let me tell you, I've seen, everybody's got trays and little leather pouches and can lids from their empty tins and whatnot. These things are sweet. The only thing that I have to complain about is the fact that you seem to be sold out.
Yeah. I'm right now, and that's been during COVID. Production has been a nightmare. just because with the pipe valet, considering I've got a small web development company and so many other hobbies and stuff, for me to actually route and carve each one, I mean, it would be $200 a piece if I had to do each one individually. So I have a somewhat local company handling kind of the CNC kind of routing the majority of the work, and then I do the finish up work on it, just so I could sell it at a decent price point. And with COVID and shipments, it's just been a nightmare getting these things ramped up. But within the next week or two, I should have my newest batch in. And what I'm doing is on this next batch, it's going to be all mahogany. And the price is going to be just about the same. I was able to cut costs in other areas so we could do it all in mahogany. And then down the road, I'm going to get into more exotic woods. But yeah, that's kind of where I am right now with it.
Let me roll back before we
Sure, sure.
so that's good. That's a good teaser. Now let me go back to the beginning and say, how did it all begin? How did you start doing pipe carving and get into pipes? And I'm assuming it was not because you saw Peep Show at the end of the like Tim did, but maybe there's another story behind that.
Yeah, well, growing up, earliest memories were my grandpa. He was always smoking a pipe when we were little, and it was probably in my kind of mid-20s. I was there in Santa Monica at the correct Tinderbox, and I was looking for a cigar, and I saw pipes, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'll give it a try. So I just bought some of their kind of house tobacco. It was probably a Lane 1Q or something like that. And then I bought a Peterson. And I think it was a Peterson. I don't have my first one, but I think it was definitely probably a Peterson. And then I smoked that for a number of years, but the only tobacco I smoked was Captain Black. I mean, I didn't know there was really anything beyond that. I think I got, when I first got into it, one of the cherry blends, and I'm like, okay, now this really isn't for me. And I tried Captain Black original. I'm like, well, at least with this, I was trying to quit smoking at the time, and I just wanted something where I'm not inhaling. And so I smoked Captain Black for years. And right around the time that my son was born, and moving to Massachusetts, this was during the dot-com boom when everyone was moving everywhere, chasing jobs. Kind of put like my pipe smoking on kind of like a hold for probably about 10 years, something like that. And I'd been doing web development and just sitting at a computer every day. Whatever I create today is pretty much obsolete in 4 years. So it's like I grew up around woodworking. My family all did woodworking as hobbies and had a construction company. So I'm like, I wanted to make a pipe more than anything. And then also I wanted to kind of get back into smoking pipes. And at the time, I don't even remember where I bought it, if it was eBay, but it was one of those where you buy a block where it's a pre-drill, it already has the stem fitted and everything, and bought one of those. And made my first pipe. And I mean, my first pipe looked like a stem stuck in a wad of silly putty, really. It was just kind of like a blob, but I just had so much fun with the process and being able to smoke a pipe, that I made. That kind of started the whole hobby / addiction for me. And, really and that was probably, I made my first pipe in probably right around 2012, 2013. But really for probably up until about a year and a half ago, it was just a hobby where I would just make them. I didn't even really take it serious. I wasn't really pushing myself to get that much better. I mean, I was getting better, but probably about a year and a half ago, it kind of clicked, and I got sick of making just kind of good but mid-range pipes. And so that's when I started getting a little more serious. And, you know, within the last 6 months, I've finally bought a machinist lathe or a metal lathe, and really started taking it more serious and really focusing on the quality and kind of slowing down with the pipes and having fun with it. And, you know, that's one thing that, you know, so many people that get into pipe making as a hobby or as a profession. One of the challenges is, I mean, you never really stop learning. I mean, you can always do better and always a new technique or something. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into the pipe making. And really for me, it was just working with my hands, kind of going back to like web development. I mean, I like web development and what I do, but it's like I just had a need to make something tangible, something that, you know, would actually be around for a few years, unlike my code and, you know, things like that.
So for having been such a short time of making pipes, your quality has really ramped up. Would you say that's maybe because you had been a woodworker before, or did you go to somebody who was already a pipe maker and study with them a little bit?
No, that's probably, that's one thing. I've never even worked with another pipe maker before because I'm up in the Sierra Mountains. I mean, my nearest pipe club is a little more than probably 2.5 hours away, something like that. So it's kind of up here. I would like to, someone I'd like to work under, and I've spoken to him, and it'll be coming up in the future, like Jeff Grazik from Jail on Pipes. He's in San Diego area of California. But that's kind of my, yeah. But that's definitely, you know, one thing I'd like to do. And but it's like, you know, mentoring under someone, people that aren't in the industry, it's not cheap. So, you know, it's one of those things where right now I'm getting really comfortable with my metal lathe and different techniques. So when I go down there to learn a little more advanced things, you know, my time's well spent. But like most pipe makers, I mean, we're all hyper critical of ourselves. So, you know, all I see is the flaws. But that's also what, you know, why we strive to get better and better and better. So.
So let me pause for a moment here and just sort of open it up. We're having a little bit of audio difficulties on the YouTube channel there. So while I mess around with that a bit, um, let me open up to some of the guys in the club here to ask some questions. And you know, one of the things that we love to do here is to engage all the different aspects of the curiosity that people have in the club. So one of the things that nobody asked a question, I'll ask it now. Have you got a bunch of pipes that you can show us?
Actually, yeah, some. I mean, the one I'm smoking now, this is, I don't know how the lighting is, but this is a Bing I made a couple months ago. And this is one thing with like a metal lathe or a machinist lathe that I couldn't really do that good before. So doing that, and when I first came in on the group earlier, I was smoking this one. And this is kind of, one thing I'm starting to get into is freehand drilling, where you actually shape the pipe first. So this was, I always, whenever I do a first to something, I keep it. But this is where it has the brass ring for the military mount. And yeah, that's one thing I really am going to start doing quite a bit more, is the shape first, then drill after. And I'm not sure how familiar people are with that. A lot of times people will take a pipe and they'll put it in, they'll use a vise and a drill. This is one I made a while back. Got some pretty nice grain on it. But what they'll do is they'll actually drill the pipe first, then they'll shape it after. Kind of one of the downsides with that, if you're really kind of chasing the grain, is you can only do so much with the drill press and how you angle it. Well, it's nice where if you're drilling afterwards, you can really start shaping the pipe, and you know, you see this a lot in like blowfish and pipes like that, where they just follow the grain perfectly. Well, where you shape beforehand, you can really follow that grain. And then once you have your shape, what you'll do is you then make kind of like your bisecting lines of, you know, where you're going to be drilling. And you'll have like your kind of straight line come in, then you'll actually with like a super glue put little wood blocks. So then you're actually taking on the lathe, and I don't want to get too technical, but where you take the tailstock with a pin, you push that, and then you're actually pushing the whole pipe into the spinning chuck with your bit on it. It's one thing I just didn't even want to attempt until I had a really good quality lathe, and now that I actually have one, it's something that kind of opened up a ton of doors for me. So something I'm really looking forward to.
Super.
And then I have some other pipes, and actually I can pick this thing up. If I can, oh yeah, right here. Excuse me, I'm gonna.
That's all right. While Craig's wandering around, wanted to ask the guys over there on YouTube, can you hear me now? I'm doing my Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
And nice pipe rack. Yeah, and this is, I've got some of the pipes I've made just kind of all stashed in here. Oh, and I have the infamous first pipe.
That is a beautiful. Look at the. Craig? Can you hold it there for a second? Look at this cabinet with the Cedarquist crest on it here. That I like. Does anybody else want one too? Like, I want one now. That's beautiful. But now I can't hear Craig. Let's see, Craig. I think we lost your audio there. Oliver, can you still hear Craig? Yes. Okay. It's just me then. Oh, I see. It's because I gotta go. There we go.
You just have like this kind of rack, like 5 across, like 2 rows. So there'll be some smaller ones, and then some full size ones like this. But yeah, and then I've got, you know, a lot of my old pipes, and this is one I did of my dog.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
That is seriously impressive.
And that's a chihuahua.
Is it heavy too?
What's that?
It's a chihuahua?
No, it's a Boston Terrier pug, and her name is Briar. So, and then some of my other kind of pipes made this one a while back.
Which came first, the dog or the hobby?
The hobby. That's why her name's Briar. She was paid for by selling pipes. But yeah, just some of my pipes there. And yeah, I'll go ahead and flip this back around here.
That is beautiful.
Looks like Japanese inspired pipe there.
Which one?
The last one that you showed with the angles.
Oh,
Beautiful.
yeah. I'd seen a pipe. I think it's when I saw someone had what they called like a pick pipe where it just kind of came down. I thought, well, what if I kind of cross the stem coming in? So it was just a fun little project pipe for me.
So how much time in the future before we can start placing our orders for the racks?
Oops, somebody
Craig?
muted Craig.
Yeah, Craig, you're on mute there, my brother. Just got to unmute yourself.
Oh,
you
sorry
unmute?
about that. I think when I picked it up and I was moving it over. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'd say probably in about 2 to 3 months, I'll start releasing the pipe racks. And what I'm going to do is I'll have some kind of set designs where I'll kind of draw them up. They'll probably be, right now I'm not going to do fully custom. And this kind of sounds, some people completely understand, some people not so much. It's just that I have a full-time job. And so for me, any woodworking I do, it has to at least be somewhat fun for me. Because, I mean, honestly, with pipes, it's not like I really don't do it for the money. I just love doing it. And with the pipe racks, it's just, I love carving. So it has to be something, if someone said, well, I want, a pipe rack with Snoopy's all over. It's like, no. It's, it has to be something that's somewhat fun, but I'm gonna pick some like kind
Well,
of
there goes my
classic.
commission. I was going to ask for Mickey Mouse, but never mind.
Have to pay too many royalties for that.
Yeah. So it's going to be kind of like, kind of classic designs and, everything from kind of older, kind of English designs, older Swedish designs, some of the older Russian designs. I like some of the real kind of classical carving.
How long does it take to make one of those racks?
Oh, if I really sat down I could probably make one in about 2 to 3 weeks. And that's not, 8 hours a day, of course. But yeah, that's one thing. Since it's been a hobby, I haven't really tracked my time on certain projects. And that's going to be my next step, is making that first one where I actually go and record, how long does it take me? Because like with this one, I was making it for myself. So I was probably working on it for over a year, just here and there. I'd get burnt out on it for a while. I'd come back to it. But
yeah, I want to recommend that you don't do that, because then you'll find out that you're undercharging.
Yeah.
And then we'll all be spending 3 times as much for your pipe rack.
Yeah, I've kind of estimated, like, if I did a full size pipe rack, kind of like this one with the amount of carving, it would probably be in the, guessing right here, $1,200 to $1,400 range. I'm guessing it could be a little more, a little less, but I'm also looking at making kind of like a tin pipe rack, and it holds about 10 to 12 pipes or something, and make different ranges in it. So I'd like to get one that's in kind of like the $600 range, something like that. I can't honestly see getting below that just with how much time goes into it. But they'll also, you know, have some real beautiful woods like black walnut or cocobolo, or and get some nice mahoganies, some different woods like that.
Awesome. I want to take a moment to just welcome all the people who are coming into the Zoom room today that are brand new, because Oliver, you've got your wish, man. We've got 46, 47 people in the Zoom room today. Is that a new record?
Absolutely.
That's
Great.
a new record there. Also, welcoming all the people over there on Facebook and some of the people who are watching on. I have that backwards. Welcome all the people on YouTube and some of the people who are watching over there on Facebook, because we're live streaming to both. And I think we may have some new people watching over on YouTube. And I just want to say welcome. It's awesome to see you guys here. I'm going to open it up in a second before we go on to some more deep personal questions to Craig. He got scared there for a second. I think that look of fear. And open it up to questions from the group. And that means you guys over there on YouTube as well. If you've got some questions for Craig, I'll pass them along.
And actually, this is my first time here, you know, first time watching it live. I didn't even know about it. And when Dave Dorian contacted me, I went on to YouTube. I've watched so many of those videos now and I love them. What a great pipe club. And I watched everything with the guys from over on Smoking Pipes on pairing. I love that one. And, you know, some of the different episodes, it's just I'm definitely going to be back, but really enjoyed it. And one person that stood out, I love listening to Dimitri. I mean, you know, with the pipe pairing and just so many, I just love that it's people from all over the world, everyone just coming together for this, you know, common kind of passion of ours of pipe smoking and tobacco and pipes. And it's just such a great group.
This is a really wonderful group.
By the way, you are very welcome to join our Facebook group, by the way.
Yeah, I'm actually not on there. I am on Instagram, but yeah, well, thank you though.
No, I mean, now that I know that you're living up there in the middle of Yosemite, come join us anytime. Every so often, Jeff does pop in. Also, Chris Morgan pops in. When Chris Morgan comes, we usually have a 4 or 5 hour meeting.
Yeah. Oh, Chris is a great guy. I actually went out to his house, and he's probably about 2.5 hours away from me, near Santa Cruz area. But yeah, he's a great guy. Actually, not Santa Cruz, South Bay Area. Yeah.
So, gentlemen, any questions that you might have for Craig, just go ahead and pop it on. You don't need me or Oliver to put your mics on. And again, for those of you who are here new, I usually just turn the mics off, because then ambient sound doesn't take over the speaker view. But go ahead and just throw your mic on, ask a question, say hello.
Craig, this is Ivan from London. I'm just curious, you seem to have a pipe of a very blonde color, or very light. Was that just a different wood, or was it just not untreated or dyed?
Yeah, I'm trying to, and that was one of the pipes on the pipe rack?
On the rack, yeah, just sort of a very, very light color.
I could have had let's see if I can move this real quick without me muting myself again.
It looked like a tankard shape, or almost like a cob shape.
You know, it could have been a, one second here. If it was this one, this is a Missouri Meerschaum in the back there. I don't know if that was the one. Most of the others here are all briar. It's kind of a mix of some of the pipes that I've made and some I've purchased, and some kind of old ones that I really love, like one of my favorites. Back in the days, some of you remember when you actually were able to get like Dunhills on eBay for like $40. Oh yeah, I got like some
one Dunhill from eBay for $50, 1980 Dunhill, which came in original box, even with original sales receipt from 1980.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. No, this is and both of my Dunhills are 1950s. This one, where there used to be the white dot, you can't see it anymore because that's when they used to make them out of real ivory. But this pipe, when I got it, you couldn't even fit a pencil down the bowl. But yeah, and that one I think I got for $60. And that pipe came in the original Dunhill box with all the original paperwork and everything, which was kind of cool to have.
Craig,
Yes.
you just since it was right there, you just oh no, my camera went off. You just showed us. You just panned past your pipe valet. Can you go back?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, since it's right there.
Yeah, here is, let's see, let me flip this around real quick here. And here is my pipe valet. And let me just switch my view here. And let's see, I just set my pipe that I was smoking down, and I don't know where it is now. But here's the pipe valet. And what this is so you can set your pipe in there while you take like your flake or your tobacco, break it. I always shred mine up really fine, let it sit for a few minutes to dry out. And then you can pack your pipe. Some people put the pipe there and then put their tools up there to pack your pipe. And then once you're done, you know, sometimes if you have too much, if you broke up too much tobacco and your pipe is full, there's this little spout right here that you can then take and put it back into, you know, your jar or your pouch or whatever you have. And this is kind of like the black sea actually just out. And I wish I had some of the new mahogany ones to show you, but I don't have that yet, but that'll be coming very soon.
How do you pronounce, is it cedar or cedar?
Cedar.
Nice.
Yeah, cedar. My last name's actually Cedarquist, but for all my, let me switch this around. My last name's actually Cedarquist, but my logins have always been Craig Cedar, just because my last name is just so long. I always just kind of shorten it up, but yeah, so that is the pipe valet. And yeah, it kind of came about years back. I can't remember what I was trying to do. I would always put like a piece of paper in my lap or something when I was shredding the tobacco, or because I had like my chair that I always have my nightly bowl in. And I would always get tobacco in my chair, or I was wasting tobacco. And so I was just looking for a fun little project. So I made a one-off of it. And it worked really good. And, you know, it was just a place that I always just started prepping my tobacco in. I'm like, well, you know, I find it useful. Maybe other people would too. So that's when I actually started manufacturing the pipe valet. And I quickly found that, you know, if I was making it myself, it would just be far too expensive just to get it machined smooth and to do all of that. So that's when I was like, well, there's, you know, companies with the new CNC wood routers where I can still get the quality that I want, get a good finish, keep the quality where I wanted it, but then do it in bulk so I could bring the price point down to make it, more affordable to sell.
And these are the ones you say won't come out for another 3 or 4 months?
Oh, no. The mahogany ones, I'm hoping in 2 weeks or less.
Oh. So then question for, this is, and by the way, guys, Craig and I did not discuss this beforehand, but can people put in pre-orders?
Once I have the quality control, I'm just, with the manufacturer I'm working with right now, I don't have a really long track record with them. They've done good for me, and they also completely screwed up an order for me where I had to reject half. So when you're working with a manufacturer, it's really kind of a relationship that we're in the early stages now. Once I'm fully confident in the quality, then I'll open it up. I would just hate to take payment from a lot of people, then to find out that the quality is subpar and I'd have to, have them make more or something. I'm being really open with the whole process here. But once I actually see it, I'll open up pre-orders.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You work only with wood, or you do something out of leather or something like that?
Yeah, a while back I was doing a lot of leather work. It's something I still do some leather work for fun, but I backed off of a little bit just because I had just had too many damn hobbies. And it's like, really, I want to start focusing on my pipe craft and instead of spreading myself too thin. So there's so many, I know of a couple people, like Dark Fired Leather in the US. I met them at the Las Vegas Pipe Show a couple years ago. And there's some other people that their leather work is so nice. I'd rather people go to a true professional on the leather side, just because I really just don't want to commit too much to that hobby right now. I'm having too much fun with pipes.
Awesome. What other questions have you guys got for Craig?
Hey, Craig. I have a question. Would you entertain doing a club pipe caddy for us?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's something. What I'm doing is I've also already spoke to a couple, one pipe shop in China and another, I don't want to give his name out now, but he's a pipe maker, but they do ultra high end stuff. And we'll probably be doing a customized line for them. I've done some custom ones for a Redice pipe group where we did their logo that was authorized, by him. And so, yeah, that'd definitely be something I'd do where we could do like the custom laser work.
Oliver.
Hey, Craig, if we want to order a pipe from you, do we just go through your contact on your website?
Yeah, that would probably right now. I'll probably start commissions about another probably 3 weeks to a month, something like that. Just as I'm kind of finishing. I've got probably about 6 or 7 pipes going now that I'm almost done with. And also I've been spending a lot of time with the new metal lathe and really trying to get down like my military mounts and different things like that. But no, definitely.
Hi there. Can I ask a question? Simon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hi. I started making pipes recently, and I've had a big question in my pipe making life, whether or not to move from a wood lathe to a metal lathe. How long ago did you make the move? What difference?
Probably about 5 months ago. and it is, the difference is night and day. Yeah, I was really comfortable. I've used a wood lathe for, I mean, years and years and years and years. I used a wood lathe. But it was probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that I got a French wheel, and I started, instead of trying to use a wood lathe, that's when I really fell in love with working with a French wheel and freehand shaping. And that's where a lot of my pipes have that kind of that Danish style. And the French wheel is, I just fell in love with that. But when you get into drilling, and especially when you start getting into things like billiards, or if you want bands, getting into a metal lathe, I mean, it's just night and day, the precision. I highly recommend it. I was kind of on the fence. Now that I have it, I can't imagine going back.
What kind of price range would you recommend?
With metal lathes, the prices are all over the board. I wound up getting a Grizzly 4000. It's a 9x19. I think I got mine for, it was right around 1,600, 1,600. But then by the time you get all of your quick change posts and things like that, I mean, figure around 2,000, 2,100.
Right, that sounds like a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's one of those things. Also, it wasn't until I finally decided, okay, I want to really start taking this serious. Because when it was just a hobby, it didn't make a big difference. I mean, it's still a hobby, but I really, you know, my thing was to get my quality to the next level.
The Grizzly stuff, they seem to have a very wide range of stuff here in the UK. There's a good range of equipment out there, but pipe dedicated stuff, pretty much all of the stuff that I've bought has been from America. You just can't get that here.
Yeah, it's yeah, the tools, that's what I mean. That's one thing when you get into pipe making. I mean, you spend so much on the tooling and the special bits, and but the one nice thing is there's a lot more specialized pipe making tools now than when I first started in 2013. You know, it also could be I wasn't looking in the right places, but now I'm seeing like places to pick up pipe making supplies. One is vermontfreehand.com. They have, you know, great, you can get Mimo Briar, get all kinds of good Algerian, but then also another website, it's vermontfreehand.com, and then rawcrafted.com. And that's RAW, and then it's KRAFTED.com. Raw Crafted has some amazing briar chucks and bits. So one place to check out for you.
Yeah, I've bought from both of them.
Okay.
Premochida is the Raw Crafted, isn't it?
Yes,
and
yeah.
He's got an amazing range of stuff. Yeah, both of them do. Raw Crafted and
yeah.
Yeah.
Craig, let me sort of pick up on that theme there for a minute. So I'm going to skip around a little bit in chronologically. Sure. I want to investigate a little bit about the pipes you're currently making and the theme of hikes around the Sierras and all that kind of stuff. But first, what's on my mind is about your future as a pipe maker. Like what kinds do you think to yourself, boy, I'd really like to get into, you know, making more blowfish, or I want to work with certain kinds of shapes that I haven't worked with before. Where do you want to take this? What's next in the pipe making world?
You know, and that's, I could say, but it changes all the time. I would say right now I'm having fun exploring kind of the Danish style. I mean, the pipes that I love are, of course, you know, Sixten Iverson, Lars Iverson, you know, Former, and I'm just really drawn to kind of the more almost organic kind of flowing shapes. And I just love the Danish style. But also I'm wanting to explore more into not carving actual like dogs like I did with like I did with, you know, my dog pipe, but getting more into carving some traditional carving patterns on pipes, mixing a smooth pipe with like a carved ring near the shank, different things like that. Just exploring different things. I really want to, so many shapes have been done. It's hard to come up with new shapes, but kind of like exploring it, like one pipe maker, I'm sure a lot of you've seen, I believe it's Frank Pipes, that he has like his own kind of signature shape. And it's just trying to find a new spin on a pipe. And that's kind of the fun thing with pipes. I mean, really it's a whole art form. I mean, sometimes on, you know, like smokingpipes.com or Pipes and Cigars or wherever, I'll just go through and just scroll, and it's like going through a gallery. You're just seeing all these different artistic interpretations of, you know, what can be done with a pipe, and it's kind of limitless. And that's kind of the fun and exciting thing about, you know, pipes and pipe shapes. It's a whole art form unto itself.
Well, that's what I was curious about. You know, it's every different, especially if you're an artist, if you really come at it as which is really interesting. We had Tom Eltang as a guest early last year, and he was adamant that he didn't consider himself to be an artist. He considered himself to be a craftsman and sort of a journeyman, you know, just manufacturer almost. But if you consider yourself an artist, the idea that art is always evolving in an artist, always pushing forward. And so I was really curious, especially that you've done, you know, woodworking all your life, whether or not you had some ideas about, gee, I've never tried XYZ, and where you might take that.
Yeah, and it's one thing. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm wanting to do is kind of like in with the design is getting more creative in kind of accents, you know, on the shank and different things like that, and playing with different materials or incorporating different metals, you know, not to the point where it'd make the pipe heavy, but really just trying new things. That's kind of and one thing I like about pipe making is I never feel like it's always kind of a new process. You're always learning something new. And that's what I like about it is it's kind of a never ending learning with this hobby or craft. And just one second, when I went to go around to the pipe rack, I set my pipe down. I don't know where it is, so I gotta find it.
While we're waiting for Craig to come back, I'm going to open it up to more questions from you guys. Also, I wanted to just say Angus over there on YouTube said he demands that I grow my mustache and beard back. Here's the thing: it's still there. You just can't see it. When I hit 50, it turned all white, and now it just blends in. You can't even see that I have facial hair anymore. And plus, all my kids say I look younger now that I have it sort of shaved closer. But over there on YouTube, if you've got questions for Craig, throw them into the comments there, and I will pass along to Craig and ask for you.
Can I actually ask, do you make 9mm pipes?
I haven't yet, but that's something that I definitely want to do. And now that I actually have my metal lathe, I can do. So that will be something I will be doing in the future. Because I know a lot of my European friends really like the 9 millimeter filter insert for that. In the US, you don't see a lot of it. It's just kind of one of those funny things. I mean, and I actually have some of my 7Ls that I really do like the filter, especially, there's a few aromatics that I really do like. And I try to dry them out, but aromatics only dry out so much. And that's where I find that having a pipe filter kind of definitely cools the smoke a bit, takes a little bit of that moisture out. So yeah, that's something I will be doing.
Well, when you open your commission book, you can put me down for the first 9mm one that you do.
Okay.
Seriously.
That's awesome.
I'm
I think we
gonna
got
drop you an
our
email.
picture back over there on YouTube. I don't know. The
Greg, if
gremlins
you
have
run out
been.
of ideas, if you run out of ideas for carving shapes, you know that Bernie Sanders meme that's going around. Go for that one.
Maybe that should be our new club logo, just a pair of crossed mittens and with a pipe. I want to think that Bernie would smoke a pipe if he smoked anything, but I think he would be. Now listen, tobacco is a waste of time and money.
Craig, I got a question for you. So what, just a quick, I'll turn my camera so you can see it. So I use, and I'm not a pipe maker, just for my cutting stems.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, would something like that lack the power to turn bowls? And
honestly, the main, if you look slow enough, I mean, those are perfect for stems. It'd almost be nice to have a dedicated small benchtop one for a stem. But the only problem is, let me switch my view here. When it's spinning, here's your center line. You need to have enough clearance over your bed. That's I would say probably one of the major drawbacks is if you're spinning, turning a bowl on something like this. But I would say that's like, if you're going to be getting a lathe for pipe making, whether it's a wood lathe or a metal lathe, I'd say bare minimum like an 8-inch clearance. That's why I got a 9-inch. If you're doing like freehand, I mean, because like this pipe, I made just, back before I even was using a lathe really. It was just, I would make the stem with a drill press really, but you have that lathe where you could make the stem, and then the rest of it I just shaped on a French wheel. But yeah, on the lathe, the bed clearance, that's the major thing. You want enough clearance and you want enough length. So once you have on your chuck and your tailstock, that really kind of shortens it up.
yeah, well, the Unimat, you can turn it into a drill too, so you can pivot the arm.
Oh,
and
nice.
Yeah. So, but I just use this for stem repairs. So, cutting new stems. But
yeah, definitely.
Just curious. I'm more familiar with. I do a lot of work with Jamie Connolly up at Stem and Briar in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, and he has I think it's like a 1932 Craftsman machine lathe.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, awesome equipment once you get to know how to work it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that was my big thing, is just starting from square one, never working with a metal lathe before. It's not overly complicated. It's just everything is, brand new, and I found that, much more dangerous than my old wood lathe. So.
Did you find you had to learn a new skill on turning on both axes at the same time?
Yeah.
To get the curve? Yeah. How long did that take you?
Not too long. I mean, it came pretty fast, where I made a pipe I mean, this was my first pipe that I made with the metal lathe, or my first kind of good one where I didn't actually chew things up. But I caught on pretty quick. It just took a whole lot longer to actually feel comfortable doing it. You know, every time it was kind of, it felt like a roll of the dice, whether it was going to turn out or not. But now I have it down to the point where I'm, you know, I feel comfortable with it. And
Craig, that's right on line with a question that just came in from the YouTube group. How long did it take you when you started to feel confident in making pipes to move into selling pipes?
I started probably selling them way before I should have. But it was because I started, I'm trying to think, it was probably early 2012 when I first started making them. They weren't bad pipes. And that's when I was more active in the YouTube community. And that's the one thing I'm definitely going to start getting more active in the YouTube community again. But as I was making pipes, I could actually make a good pipe. It wouldn't, I would say the engineering definitely wasn't perfect or anything like that, but I was making a few videos, just kind of sharing the pipes, and people said, well, how much, you know, to make a pipe? And, you know, so then I started selling them, and people, they liked them. I mean, it was, I would say it was no worse than, you know, some of your basket pipes you can get out there. But at first what I was doing is I was purchasing pre-made stems. Then I would cut off the tenon, drill out to put in a Delrin tenon. So I was always putting in my own tenons. Then I would, you know, make the V slot in the stem. But I mean, long story short, I started selling them probably before I should have, but I mean, people were happy with them at the time. I mean, that's when pokers were all the rage and everyone, you know, was making pokers. So yeah, that's, I would say it's probably not until the last couple of years that, you know, the quality really went up. Not that you couldn't smoke them before, they weren't fine pipe, but I would say now my engineering is much, much better.
I'd like to ask some questions about your pipe smoking yourself. So you shared with us that you started making pipes again because you were like, I want a pipe and I want to start smoking again. So what do you like to smoke? Do you have are you drawn to certain kinds of blends or tobaccos in particular? And what do you put in your pipes?
Right now, well, when I first started off smoking out of this little pipe here, I was smoking one of my favorites, Sun Bear. And then now in my Bing, I'm smoking, of course, Golden Slice. I definitely gravitate towards Virginia Periques, Virginias. My all-time favorite that I have my big stash, not a big stash, but my stash of is McClellan's St. James. St. James, like, geez. Yeah, I've got, I have my little cellaring where I have all my tobaccos, but yeah, McClellan's Virginia Periques. Those are my favorite, but I do have a couple of, normally in the house when I smoke, I usually smoke, I'll smoke some of my Golden Slice in the house, but generally what doesn't leave any ghosting, in my favorite, one of the few aromatics I smoke is from Pipes and Cigars. It's called Trout Stream. And for aromatic, it's pretty good. They have good quality tobaccos, and it's not a goopy aromatic to me, but I'm all over the place. The only thing that when I first started smoking, well, when I started smoking pipes again, I couldn't get enough Latakia. I just love the total Latakia bombs. Now it's like I like a little bit of Latakia, but not too much. But I always gravitate, seems like, towards Virginias, Virginia Preaks.
When you make pipes, like your Bing, for example, do you imagine that it will smoke good with a certain kind of tobacco, whether it's an aromatic or a, you know, a Virginia Perique? I seem to meet some pipe carvers who really have a sense of, okay, this is going to be a good one for, you know, this kind of tobacco. Do you ever think about it in that way?
Honestly, no. Most of the pipes that I make, I mean, kind of my standard that I find, at least for me, what is kind of a good all-around bowl. I like a 3/4 inch tobacco chamber. I have found, because I do have a couple Savinellis where I think it's like a 0.85, like, you know, kind of a larger, and I find I do like Englishes in a little larger bowl, but I don't find a huge difference. I think some people may find a big difference. I really personally don't notice a huge difference. For me, it's more, depending on what I'm smoking, is kind of the cadence and how I smoke. Certain tobaccos I have to sip, you know, really, really light to get the flavor. Other ones, you know, it's like if I'm going out on a walk or something like that, where I'm not going to be focusing on my tobacco, sometimes I'll grab like an aromatic, and sometimes I'll even still smoke every once in a while. If I'm just going to go out on a walk and I'm not going to focus on my tobacco, I'll even smoke Captain Black original here and there. But if I'm going to sit down and truly with like a cup of tea or with a good bourbon or scotch, that's when I'll always go with, like, you know, one of my Virginias or something like that, where I'm really going to sit down and focus on enjoying.
You know, now that I think about it, the people that we've had on the show that I've met who seem to talk more about, you know, this blend should go in this kind of pipe, have been blenders who have an idea about that, not so much the pipe makers. And I'm thinking we need a summit between pipe makers and pipe blender and tobacco blenders, and maybe come up with a whole new year along of making pipes for particular tobaccos.
Yeah, and that's especially, you know, like Jeremy Reeves or someone like that, where I consider them more kind of on the super taster kind of level, where I know what I like and what I don't like. I can pick out nuances, but I can't name off 10 different, you know, essence of what I'm tasting or something like that.
Super. Let me open it up again to questions and whatnot, to the group, and just say, you know, jump in and ask Craig some questions and poke around a little bit. And that goes for you guys over there on YouTube and Facebook too. Just throw in your questions and I will pass them along. Yeah.
Craig, I would like to know, you are an artist basically, and you believe in experimenting new things. Would you ever consider working on something else other than briar, maybe even a corn cob? Would that thought ever come to your mind?
Yeah,
other than briar?
Yeah, I have experimented with Morta a bit.
Yeah, Morta, yeah.
That's one thing I would like to try a little more. It's a total pain in the butt to work with. It's a pain in the butt wood, and I've heard other pipe makers kind of say I'd like to work with that more. I have been kind of interested in playing with cobs a little bit. I've still never worked with I'd like to work with, you know, cobs, give that Morta a little bit. Olive wood is something. I've seen a couple olive wood pipes that are just beautiful. Paul over at Paul's Pipes, I'm sure a lot of you guys know who he is. He's done some beautiful olive wood pipes. And that's one, you know, material I would like to work with. I've always been fascinated with Mishuram, but the pipe makers in Turkey, they've got it down, so I'm not even going to mess with that. So
Got a couple of questions over here from the YouTube group. One, I'm going to throw out an answer to Joe's Joe's question about best tobacco from Morta, and then I'm going to open it up to what your opinions are. So, if you have watched some of the replays over there on Facebook, or it actually originated over there on Per Jensen's YouTube channel, where he talks about spun tobacco. And I recently picked up an old tin of Three Nuns, which is a spun tobacco. And I'm thinking for mortar pipes, that would be a really fantastic type of pipe to smoke your spun tobacco in because of the complexity of the flavors in spun tobacco. I know that when I'm smoking the Three Nuns, there's just so much in there. And a morta is going to give you an opportunity to taste so many of those different nuances that maybe you can't get out of a briar, simply because we talked about this last time. Briars have a hint of their own woody flavor, and that's then absent from the morta. So if it was me, Joe, I would pick up some dark twist from McBaron, or if you can get your hands on some Three Nuns or something like that, to smoke that in your morta. But I'm going to open it back up to the group, and because I'll bet David's got some opinions, and Craig, if you've got some thoughts on that.
Have some of you, one thing I noticed when I did make a mortar pipe, I mean, I definitely got an oaky kind of flavor at first, at least. After that, it seemed to clean up. But I know at first, I had a kind of a real kind of oaky flavor. And I felt like I got more flavor from the mortar than I do from briar. But, that's just one thought. I was just wondering what the rest of you thought.
The thing I found about mortar pipes is that it tends to tune down all the major taste that you get, like a pure Oriental blends. If you smoke it in a mortar, it will tune down the spiciness a bit. That's just me.
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to add to thought about size of the pipe and tobacco you smoke in it. Well, at first, it's all matter of personal preference. I, for example, usually prefer smoking like straight Virginias in small to medium pipes, but it's not set in stone. Sometimes, especially in summer, I can smoke straight Virginia in my supersized Savinelli Hercules.
User left your channel.
English I prefer in larger bowl, but again, it's not set in stone. And it's all varies from person to person.
Craig, I got another question over here from the YouTube group. And I'm curious too, if you could, in the pipes that you got in the rack there, what's your most out there, avant-garde, maybe creative pipe? The guys would love to see what your out there pipe is.
Oh boy. I'm trying to think. I've got pipes all over the place. I've got pipes upstairs. I've got some pipes on the rack here. I would say right now, I really don't have, I would say kind of like my, I would say most of my real exotic pipes, or some of my favorite ones, I've sold. Yeah, there's one I did a while back that, and I don't have a picture of it here. It's on my Instagram feed and on my website, but yeah, I don't have it here. I mean, I have kind of like that pick shaped pipe that I did. And of course the carved dog pipe, but none of them are really too far out there. That's kind of where I'm wanting to go next, is kind of to push the envelope a little bit for myself.
Can you grab that dog pipe one more time and hold it up to the camera for everybody?
Oh yeah.
There's a few people who've come in since you were at the rack there.
Yeah, let me grab a couple of them, just bring them over here.
Again, I just want to welcome everybody who's joining us here in the Zoom room. This is so awesome. We've got, see, Oliver, you've got to be careful what you ask for. We're gonna have 200 people at the next meeting there. So welcome all the new people, and for the new people who are here in the Zoom room, don't be shy. This is not that kind of group. There's no elite bunch of people who always ask questions. Tim's over there. He's being really quiet today, but he just pops in with a bunch of questions on some days, and then there's other people who are brand new first timers. So you'll notice that for the most part the microphones are on mute, but that's just so that we can manage the people the images on the screen. So just throw your mic on and shout out a question anytime you want.
Hey, Craig.
Hello.
Do you like Bold Kentucky?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. And I like some of those in like, was it, I don't know if it's Kentucky, but Peter Heinrich's Dark Strong, and then Orlick's, and yeah.
Do you like Rustica?
You know what? Honestly, that's one I haven't even tried that I would like to try, because I know that's a kind of a stronger, bold flavor. Yeah, which
I learned to laugh and never mix the two together.
Yeah, just recently I was smoking straight Nicotiana Rustica because I'm working on the club blend, and possibly it will be one of the components.
With the Rustica tobaccos, which one would you, if someone hadn't tried a Rustica, what would you recommend?
Well, I'm just using the whole leaf Nicotiana Rustica. I'm working on a blend for the Virtual Pipe Club, and it will be Virginia Oriental based, and probably will have Perique, possibly Nicotiana Rustica, because Nicotiana Rustica, it's actually different species of plant.
Yeah.
It's from same genus as Nicotiana tabacum, but different species. And it might contain up to 9 times more nicotine than tobacco.
That's what I've heard. So people use that more as kind of like a condiment type tobacco,
yes,
like a Perique,
but
or
it has amazing aroma. That flavor, it's incredible, but it is very strong, and if you overdo it, it will hit you hard.
Here's a story I gave one of our club members the first time Rustica, and he doesn't smoke it before, and we were live on a face-to-face Zoom meeting, and this was the first time for him that he was sitting down after a half bowl and he was sweating, and he said, "Holy shit, what is that?" So, but the taste is unbelievable, but you have to be a little bit careful.
yeah. I definitely have to give that a try.
Yeah, I recently bought a selection of the Seattle Pipe Club blends, which I really delighted in. Some of them, so Hood Canal. I have to be careful here because I misspoke a few weeks ago and I said it was Hood River, but it's not. It's Hood Canal, which I found to be a little grassy in its taste for me, and so I mixed it with the Rustica, and it blended very nicely together and sort of darkened up the flavor a little bit. So yeah, the Rustica is a good condiment kind of tobacco. And sit down.
I have this bag. It's Nicotiana Rustica, and that's what the leaf looks like. Very thick stem, which has to be removed. But the aroma is incredible.
Because that's what I do every year is we've got a big garden out back, and every year I grow tobacco out there. And then so I've been growing Virginia, but I should try getting some of the Rustica. So I don't make much tobacco, but it's kind of a fun little hobby. I've got some Virginia Periques that I have aging, and I still haven't. I've tried some of it. It's not great, but it's fun to kind of grow your own, and then I just had it aging in a jar for a year before I mixed it with Perique. Then I pressed it into cakes with a touch of Perique and a little bit of spiced rum. And I'll probably try it next year. It'll be about 4 years old now.
Dimitri, I don't know if you caught wind of this. I read an article recently about some scientists who were some anthropologists who were looking at pre-Columbian pipes, and they had detected rustica in the pipe. And so I thought,
yes,
did you
I
see
read
that? So, but then I read a more recent article where they said that they had noticed that there were other things in the pipe as well that had been mixed. And it turns out that what people were smoking in South America were hallucinogens, and the rustica was just sort of to tone down the hallucinogens. And so rustica has its roots in getting high. That's just.
Well,
it works for
I
me.
know that Nicotiana rustica is very popular in Southeast Asia, like Thailand, Vietnam, and people smoke it straight. At some time, especially 19th century, first half of 20th century, it was very popular in Russia. Because it grows pretty much in any conditions. So it was grown in Russia a lot. Of course, it wasn't as potent as one grown in South America or Southeast Asia, just because climate is different. In Germany, Nicotiana rustica was widely consumed, again, mostly like 19th century. And it was referred to as poor people's tobacco over there.
Yeah, one of the.
Have any of you read Weber's book on tobacco? So Weber used to be an American pipe company, and they had the Weber pipe book, and they have a huge, well, not a huge, it's a small book, but it has several pages devoted to different tobacco strains. So one of the most popular was like a Kentucky white leaf, which, believe it or not, was very popular up in Wisconsin. So tobacco will grow anywhere.
What is deer's tongue? I've seen there's a lot of tobaccos that have it in it.
Deer tongue is basically it's a wild grass. It has kind of like vanilla flavor. It was used a lot in tobacco blending, but it's not used anymore because it actually is, it has some very dangerous chemicals in it, which can hurt you badly, especially if you have heart problem. It can cause internal bleeding and many other serious problems.
It wasn't deer tongue big in like the 30s and 40s?
Yes, it was actually up probably into like 60s, 70s.
Oh,
then like I would say probably like in 1960, they started using it less and less. Well, it's actually has chemicals which can be sometimes used in medicine as a blood thinners. So unless you have thrombosis, it probably will slowly kill you.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's probably known in the state of California to cause cancer. At least that's on everything I see nowadays.
Certainly.
Everything
Well, they
does.
say everything
guys.
causes that nowadays.
Steph
I
and
wanted to
Skip
ask
over there
something about
on YouTube have asked a question about how do we get a sample of the club mix, where can we buy it, etc. So, Steph, I'm assuming it's Steph who's asking because she's in charge of the keyboard most of the time. So right now, Dimitri's working on concocting the club blend. It's a new idea for us and a new experiment. I'm so excited about it. Maybe I'll get Dimitri to answer what his timeline is. Here's the thing, and especially for those of you guys over there on YouTube who are not on Facebook, this may be the one reason why you should get on Facebook. So you'll want to come and be in the Virtual Pipe Club Facebook group, because we'll announce when the blend is available for sale. and I'm almost certain it's going to be a limited quantity. So when Oliver posts that, you'll want to make your order right away. And we're probably not going to widely announce this one because there won't be that much available. But that's the only thing that you need to do. And you know, I don't think there's going to be samples. We'll sample it here in the club and just make you jealous about how good it tastes. But Dimitri, you want to maybe talk about what your thoughts
Yes,
are on
I'll tell you a
timeline?
little bit about the progress. So last week, I made 8 different samples, 16 gram each. I removed stems from tobacco previous days, so just to blend it and cut the tobacco and blend it together to make these 8 samples took me 4 hours. It is very labor-intensive process, so I'll show you what I'm working with, or I'll show you like example of the leaf. It's all from unprocessed whole leaf tobacco.
Dimitri, while you're pulling that out, I don't know if you heard me say this, but last night I was on the Cane Rod Piper's live stream, and somebody actually asked why Dimitri never answers his door when we go knocking on his door in the middle of the night. And I said, it's because he's in the laboratory putting together some new blend.
You see, this is like leaf of Canadian Virginia. Each stem has to be removed. I have to do it by hand from every single leaf. So this, maybe you can hear like a little.
Yeah, hold it up a little bit higher to your camera.
Means this leaf is on the dry side, so before I can work with this, I need to rehumidify it. So spray it with the distilled water, let it sit for probably a day. Then it's soft enough so I can work with it. Remove the stems. To slice the leaf into ribbon, I just roll it and use this ulu knife to slice it. I've been looking for like tobacco grinder. I have this small one, hand cranked, but it does shag cut. It's like less than 1 millimeter thick. It's basically intended for roll your own tobacco, and it cannot cut like thicker leaf like dark fired Kentucky, which is or burley, usually thicker, or Nicotiana rustica. It's fine like for Orientals or Virginias, where leaf is usually thinner. And again, it's hard work. I've done it with this. And I've been looking for the grinder, which does like thicker ribbon, but the only things which I've seen for sale are like industrial size, and the price probably like few $1,000s. Well, I don't have space for it, and I don't have that kind of money. Leaf only used to have the electric grinder for like over $300. I was willing to make that investment, and that grinder cuts between 2 and 3 millimeters ribbon, but they don't have it anymore. They replaced it with a similar grinder which cuts 1 millimeter. Again, mostly for roll your own. So there is nothing available for like grinder for pipe tobacco. So
this is a 2022 blend that will come out. Is that what you're saying?
So I'm planning to use like a daily meat slicer, and probably like cut every single leaf, like roll it and cut it like into ribbons about 2 or 3 millimeters thick. So it will take time, but most important, this coming week, I'll start smoking these samples. I'll decide which one or two are best, and I'll try to improve on those. Again, I'll have to make a few more new ones, let them sit for at least a week, smoke them again. There is a chance that one of these is exactly what I'm looking for. Then I'll just have to order more of the leaf and start actually blending for the club. It might take a month or two until I get it right. So it's hard to predict.
That's
But
awesome.
I'll keep posting on our club Facebook with updates, so you'll know how the progress is, what's going on.
So we'll keep you guys updated on the weekend pipe clubs on what the progress is. But when it comes time to actually order the blends, it just because of the quantity and you can hear what Dimitri is saying, how labor intensive this is, that we'll only be selling it to people in the group in the Facebook page. So bite the bullet, go over there on Facebook, join the group, and then you'll know when it's available, and then it'll be up for sale on that.
And
Dimitri.
I think this week I'll start the survey. Well, basically we'll start contest for the blend name.
Hey, Dimitri, a food processor wouldn't work for tobacco?
Well, food processor will just crush it into small pieces. I need ribbon, not small pieces. Small pieces or even cube cut, they don't burn well. And to make ribbon, you need a machine like similar to paper shredder or something like this. It works on the same principle.
What about a pasta cutter?
That was my thought too. What about a pasta cutter? You can make different sizes of pastas. Why not with tobacco?
Well, again, pasta cutter, I don't know how it will work on tobacco. I never tried it, but it's actually an interesting idea.
Or maybe it's just impossible.
Dimitri, we used the noodle press for tobacco, so why not?
Yeah, when you get done with your blend and when you put your price on it, please make sure you put enough to cover all of your costs and hopefully a little profit for yourself. I think you're taking this very seriously and putting a lot of effort into it.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, my labor in this case will be very cheap. But I'm going to charge at least enough to cover my expenses on tobacco. And again, like if I order, for example, like I got 1 pound of this bright Virginia. After I remove all the stems, it will be a lot less than 1 pound, even though tobacco, like whole leaf tobacco, is relatively inexpensive, but a lot of it is not used. Like I have to remove all the stems and thick veins because you don't want like pieces of wood basically in your blend. Because I'm not a commercial cigarette company which uses all that. I only use like quality leaf.
Craig, I wanted to jump back with you again, sir. So your website talks about your freehand pipes are all named after some of the hikes that you do up in the Sierras up there. Does that mean that you're an avid hiker too, or is that just the way you get to the grocery store?
No, yeah. And that was one of the reasons I moved up here. Yeah, we hike, myself and my girlfriend, we do tons and tons of hiking, backpacking up in the Sierras where we are. And then we also every year do a couple like 4 to 5 day backpacking trips in the upper portion of Yosemite National Park. So we're big hikers, and and sometimes we like to hike and travel. We went to Patagonia a couple of years ago and spent 2 weeks hiking there. And so, yeah, we're avid hikers. And that's one thing I just started doing with some of the pipes, like on just some of the one-offs. I would just, instead of naming it just pipe A or whatever, I named them off after different like summits and in the area that we've done.
Turn off heater. Do you smoke while you're hiking?
Usually not when I'm hiking. Sometimes on the way down, but usually like I usually save the pipe for when I've hit a summit. It's like a couple months ago, I took like every year we go up in Yosemite. There's a mountain called Half Dome, and then every year before they put the cables up, that's kind of my annual fitness check. It's about a 20-mile round trip, but you have like almost 5,000 foot elevation gain. But I always save the pipe for once we've hit the summit. That's kind of like where I can really kind of kick back and relax at some summit somewhere and have my pipe. And yeah, and this year was my first time my daughter actually did Half Dome cables down with us. And so that was a pretty epic one. So I usually save like one of my good McClellans for the summit on something like that.
Don't you have a picture posted on your website of you on top of Mount Whitney?
Yeah. Yeah, and I verified that you can smoke a pipe at 14,400 feet.
Now, when
Hey,
you
David.
go right ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say I caught that last night and I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a very that was the first time for me being invited on somebody else's live stream. Basically because Simon doesn't like me that much. But but no, it was a wonderful group, and I appreciated it being invited. Craig, when you because this is very interesting to me. Like you're naming these pipes after these wonderful hikes. Do you like on the way out there go, oh, this reminds me of a Danish, shape, and I'm gonna go back home and carve one and name it after this hike?
Yeah, I'd like to say I did that. It's more I finished a pipe. What am I going to name it? No, but there's some. I mean, what I'm naming, I do. I mean, there's certain pipes that I did name because of the shape, because it reminded me of like the summit or something like that. But a lot of times it's just naming it for these different peaks. And some people that are hikers may recognize it. Other people, well, what is it? Let me look up and see what this is. And it's just, I love the outdoors and hiking and just kind of being out in nature. So it's another one of my passions. So that's why I name it like that.
That's awesome. So so we are getting towards, don't anybody freak out yet, but we're heading towards the 2-hour mark there. And what I do every week is I remind people that we need to respect our spouses and our families and not spend all day in the pipe club, so that they allow us to come back next week. So we're heading in that direction. And if you've still got some questions that you want to ask to Craig, now's a good time to throw it out there. Guys over there on Facebook and YouTube, just throw your questions up and I will ask Craig about it. And then, of course, you guys here in the Zoom room, there's so many people here. This is really awesome. And especially the people here maybe for the first time. Don't be shy. Jump in there with a question for Craig.
Oh, Craig, I have a question for you. So what is your absolutely favorite pipe? Your absolutely favorite?
Oh, gosh. That honestly changes so much for me. I would say of pipes that I didn't make would be I've got a 1952 Dunhill tan shell. And I don't know what it is with that pipe, but whatever, it's like the magical smoke. It's just, every time I smoke it, it's just amazing. I don't even know what it is about the pipe. But
Can you show it?
Oh yeah. Let me grab that real quick.
I would like to comment a bit about the question by Tim Garrity. He asked about, I think he's using a Unimat lathe. He was asking whether he could make a pipe, turn a pipe with that. I'm making a pipe with a TEG lathe. I think you are familiar with it. It's a micro lathe. So I've been turning my pipe with the micro lathe. So it can turn a pipe, but like Craig said, in its, this pipe, it can't be that big. The shank will be very, very short. But it can turn a pipe. No problem.
Yeah, and that looks good. Yeah, and that's the thing is, I think a lot of people don't get in the hobby because they think they need so much. And honestly, one of the few things you need is just a way to drill. I mean, you can get inexpensive drill presses. And then, there's different techniques that you can use. And that's what, back in 2013, I made a series of pipe making videos. And, some would say, yeah, you're making videos on how to make pipes while you're still learning to make pipes. And that was kind of true at the time. But it showed people at least a way, from a hobby standpoint, how to get started. But what was funny, and I didn't realize, when I went to the Vegas pipe show a couple of years ago, I found 3 full-time pipe makers that started making pipes using my video that I made back in 2013 on YouTube. But yeah, you really don't need that much. You can get really creative. You don't need expensive tools, just if you just want to have fun and make your own pipes.
Yeah, and I think when you need a metal lathe is when you want to make a very classical shape, a very straight shank. I think that's the point where you get a metal lathe, right?
Yeah, that's where it really makes a difference. I also noticed a big difference on precision, kind of like with this freehand pipe. You first I used a 1/8 drill to drill down and then drill this way. So, and with a metal lathe, you can get them to meet exactly. The precision is what I really noticed the big difference on. But I mean, like even with some of those micro lathes, the quality of those micro lathes, I mean, you can do some really nice stuff, and like your pipes look really good. So, and here's someone asked about the Dunhill.
Thank you.
Here's my 1952 Dunhill tan shell. See if I can get this. But yeah, it's just amazing smoker. I would say out of my pipes that I've made, my favorite one is probably this one. This is my backpacking pipe. This is the one I take whenever I travel or do anything. It's small enough, and it was one of those pipes where when it was done, I was getting ready to post it. And I'm like, I'm going to keep that one. So that's kind of one of the benefits when you make pipes. Every once in a while, you can kind of pull one aside for yourself. But that one, I would say the pipe that I smoke most now is probably one of the Bings I made. And I've got 2 of these Bings I'm working on right now. But that's one shape that one of my favorite shapes is kind of like the Bing, that kind of classic long billiard.
Tim Garrity may know some more information about this, but the Chicago Pipe Show has announced its dates for 2021. I think it's the May 1st. I think that's what they announced, May 1st and 2nd. If I get
those dates are still in flux.
They're still in flux. Okay, so
yes.
That because what was on the website is not set in stone yet.
Not set in stone yet. We are working diligently with a new. If you don't know, the Pheasant Run's gone. They're out of business, so we've kind of moved to a new locale. And of course, with COVID, not the settings, but the regulations that the state is laying down have been in flux as well. So we're hoping to have things hammered out within the next month and have an update. So the club, remember there's the show and the club. The club sponsors the show, but they don't keep a pace. So it's in flux. But again, we're committed to having the show. The only thing that puts us in check is COVID. So
Yeah.
we don't want to have a show if we can't keep people safe. So.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear you say it that way. That's really so. Assuming that we get a rein on COVID by getting the vaccinations out there. I'm certainly planning on getting my vaccination as soon as possible. My wife's a therapist who works with face to face with people, so she's already gotten her vaccination, so I'm planning on going, and a bunch of us are planning on hopefully meeting up there. Craig, are you planning on going to any shows this year?
I don't know. I was definitely probably not going to make the Chicago, but hopefully they put on the Las Vegas show. And honestly, I've only been to one of the Las Vegas pipe shows, but it was a really fun show where you really get to hang out. Because I've heard, with a lot of pipe makers, Chicago show, that's where that's their business for the year, and that's pure business. Where with the Las Vegas one, there's a lot of kicking back and talking, and just going to a pipe show where you talk to all these different people you've known online, and where I kick back and just BS with Jeremy Reeves for the longest time, and these other people in the industry, and just such a neat experience to get out and get to a show.
Well, if we do get some of these shows going, and I'm crossing my fingers that that's going to happen, I hope that we have a chance to hang out together.
Oh yeah. Besides the Chicago show, there's the show, there's the tent, and as the club president, my job is to kind of make some more social events as well. So, including hopefully visiting some of our local brick and mortars to show people what a real pipe shop looks like.
That's awesome, Tim. We got to get you on this meeting so that we'd love to have you come and talk about the club and the show and everything.
Anytime.
Well, I'm going to reach out to you so we can do that. We're down to the last few minutes of today's adventure. Last chance to shoot some questions to Craig. Once again, hold on one second. Let me, because Harana, I'll forget if I don't say it. So, for those of you who came in late to watch this afternoon, Craig's here, because we've discovered that he's a heck of a nice guy. That always is wonderful. That's always a bonus. But also, he is the winner of Best of Pipe Smoking Accessories for 2020 by Old Country Squire, the same group that honored us. Our virtual pipe club is Best Pipe Club for 2020. And his contribution to pipe accessories is the Pipe Valet. And maybe, Craig, if you could just throw that up one more time, shameless plug for this thing. Craig was saying that although he's sold out at the moment, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, he'll have some more in stock, and you can order them. I'm going to make my order for sure.
And here is, I have a couple. This is kind of what the Pipe Valet is for those that didn't see it. And then this is mine. And then here's one, the kind of the black version that just sold out. But I will have the mahogany Pipe Valets in about 2 or 3 weeks, hopefully even sooner than that. But the new ones will be made out of mahogany, and they will be available on my website, which is cedarcraft.com, and that's SEDER and then craft.com. And hopefully within the next few months, they'll also be sold on other pipe supplier websites, some of the major ones.
Awesome. We'll be putting a link to Craig's website and his Instagram account as well up on the Facebook group so that everybody can go and check him out, man. Haran, thanks for your patience, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, Craig, one thing I just wanted to know, since you said you are a Virginia Perique lover, vapor is your favorite blend always. Have you ever thought of going in for something like a tobacco-specific pipe model, tobacco-specific pipe, for this particular kind of a tobacco blend? I mean, this is the ideal pipe, something on those lines.
I've played around with different bowls, larger bowls, smaller bowls. It's something I've thought about, but quite honestly, I haven't really pursued. One thing I would like to offer in the future is have, like whether it's a Danish style or whatever, where you can get it in different size bowls. Because I know some people really like the much larger bowls for certain tobaccos, and then kind of like one of the standard sizes, I don't know what it is in millimeters, but like the 3/4 inch. But then also I've got like a Suge, which is a tasting pipe with a really small bowl. And I've tried like, different tobaccos like Virginia's taste different with that really, kind of small tobacco chamber. And I'm talking about the diameter small. It's something I'm looking into, but quite honestly, I haven't put a lot of thought into that as of yet, but it is something I will do in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, I just have one.
Maybe just to add a bit, just one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
For Craig, if you wanna read into, I have a few rules. It's like I've learned it from my mentor. So the Virginias are 18 millimeters chamber, the Virginias, and the English blends are 22 millimeters chamber, and the aromatics are 24 millimeters chamber. So just as
okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
This is why I love this group.
Well, and that's the thing about with a pipe community like this, just everyone sharing all this, information and things where, I've been making pipes, but also I haven't worked under anyone. So I'm kind of working in a bubble, trial and error. And, for anyone that says they know everything, I'm always afraid of that kind of person. There are people in the pipe industry that I do listen to, like law or, the word, but, so much of it is experimentation, and what one person likes, other person, everyone's taste is different. So it is fun just seeing all these different ideas and different perspectives from people around the world like this.
Craig, David, the 10-second question for Craig.
Well, please go ahead. Yeah.
Craig, is that the mahogany version of your valet on your website?
No, it's not. I will have pictures of those very soon on the website.
Right, thank you.
It's been kind of in the R&D stage, trying different woods, finding what works, what doesn't. We're going to do a run with mahogany. We will be doing some other woods as well.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Greg.
Yes.
Not to be gauche. I don't want to be insulting, but if, say, for example, we were to order a pipe, whether it's from you or whether it's from somebody else, what kind of a price target would we expect to hit to be able to have a handmade pipe?
Oh yeah, that's a totally reasonable question. Most of my pipes right now are honestly from 180 to 240. That's kind of the range. I've had them go for more than that depending on the time, and some go for less. And sometimes, like if I get a really, really good block, I mean, some blocks, a lot of people that aren't making don't understand some of the prices. Like some blocks, I don't know if this one, how this is going to show. With certain grains,
Wow.
certain blocks can
String.
be, certain straight grains, I mean, they can be up to $45 just for the block of wood before you even put your time in. If you have a good German, like Cumberland stem, you know, you're talking $7, $8 of material just on the stem. So it's, but I usually, you know, it's also being realistic with the market, you know, what your name is in the market, what the quality of the pipe is. So yeah, mine are usually 180 to 240, somewhere in there.
What's the easiest way to get on a commission list for you?
Gotta be reasonable to charge for your time.
Right now, I don't really have a commission list. One thing you could do is through my website is shoot me an email.
Okay.
Because I do have a list. Since this is a hobby for me, I don't do a lot. I am going to be ramping up, but I would say usually I do probably about 4 to 5 a month, something like that.
Okay, I'll definitely shoot you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, this is the time when I have to act like a good bartender at a pub and say the time bell is ringing. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Craig, I just have one last question. Well, two actually. I have an invitation and a question. The invitation is, you know, hanging out there up in the middle of the Sierras. If you ever want to, you know, hang out with a bunch of guys and talk tall tales, please come and join us anytime.
Oh, I'm going to be back. Definitely.
That's awesome. And will you come back as a guest in the future?
Definitely.
That's
definitely. No, I mean, this is what I miss being up here in the mountains is, you know, I miss kind of, even though it's virtual, it's still face to face. But what's even better than a pipe club is we're speaking to people all over the world. And that's what I love is just we're all coming together with the same common interest. And it's great.
Awesome. Well, you've been a fantastic guest. Thank you so much for being here and being in the time here. Gentlemen, as I say every week, you are like the best part of my week. I look forward to coming and meeting with you and hanging out. So thank you guys for being here. Wash your hands, wear your masks. Please stay safe and healthy so I can see you again next week. Next week, our guest is going to be Chris Kelly from Eldridge Pipes. And boy, oh boy, he is got some pipes that will give you nightmares, but also probably give you some great smokes. So that's what's coming up next week. And for those of you guys over there on Facebook and YouTube, thank you guys for being here too. I love you guys a lot. I'll see you next week. Be well.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Until next
Yeah,
Saturday.
bye.
Next week.
Take care. God bless everybody.
Bye-bye. See you next time. Cheers.
Guys.
Bye.